This orchid fell down. It's so pretty, I don't want to waste it. I just like stick it in my hair. Ah. Well, how's it, people? So, precisely 1 million years ago, I asked you guys to send in your video suggestions, like things you wanted me to talk about, and I'm slowly walking through those video suggestions, which is why we are here today talking about this topic. This topic, guys, if I had a rant for every time I've been asked to talk about this topic, I would be able to retire by now. I mean, I'm already retired in my head, but I'd be able to retire in real life by now. Before I start this video, just a disclaimer, there's a lot of raw truth in this video. You know what they say. If you can't handle the heat, get out of the lounge. I would say kitchen, but I'm in the lounge. So the question everyone wants to know is, what happened to my South African Indian accent? What happened? Where it went? You know, honestly, I have so many different voices in my videos that I kind of like forgotten which is my real voice. But I think this is it. This one. This one. This one. This one. Hi. Honestly, if I think about it, I could just say that I went to a white school in a very white area, and this video would have been finished in like 30 seconds. But since when has finishing in 30 seconds ever been fun, you know? I don't know why I made that joke. I'm actually very innocent. I don't know where that came from, honestly. But actually, I realized that the story, if we go into it quite deeply, you know, it could be very interesting. So why not delve into it? Why must I just give you such a surface explanation? No, no, no. It's fine. I'll go into this. Especially if you're not from South Africa. I think you would find this interesting. So I suggest you go and get your popcorn. If we're gonna get to the bottom of my accent, it means that we're gonna have to like delve into like my personal upbringing and my country's background, and that's not like unique to me. This is actually what shapes everyone's accent: your upbringing, your country's background, stuff like it's not rocket science, it's just linguistics. Okay, so where do we even start with the story? I know, let's start in the year 1989 when I was born. But Sam, you're so old. Your face is old. Alright, so from before I was even born until the year 1993, we lived in a very sleepy city called Pietermaritzburg. What a time! I mean, I don't remember any of it, but I'm sure it was a great time. In 1993, however, we moved from Pietermaritzburg to the farm. I know, can you believe it's been 28 years living on this farm? Oh my god. You better be keeping up with this timeline because it's very important to the story. You better listen, I'm gonna test you later. Now, do you know what comes after 1993? 1994. I did not take standard grade maths for nothing. Now, here's the thing about 1994. In 1994, that was the year when apartheid officially fell. Finished, the end, klaar, kaput. If you're not South African and you have no idea what apartheid is, I suggest you go and Google it and come back to this video, hey? Finally, in 1994, South Africa was this shiny new democracy. People were finally free to live wherever they wanted, school wherever they wanted, just go wherever they wanted. We were finally free. What a time! But also in 1994, I was plus 12 minus 70 times 5 divide by 0, carry the 1. I was 5 years old, and this was also the year that I started school. This is where it gets interesting. In case you were wondering when this was gonna get interesting. When I started school, I attended what we called back then an Indian school. We just use these like slang terms, like it was just what we called it back then, okay? But Sam, I thought thought you just said apartheid fell, so why did you go to an Indian school? You must remember that just because apartheid falls, it doesn't mean that we all just wake up the next day and hold hands and sing Kumbaya together. No. Transition takes time. A lot of time. Years. I think we're still transitioning, in fact. So I still went to an Indian school. Now, when I say I went to an Indian school, what I mean is at that school, there were predominantly South African Indian kids. There were also black kids and there were also colored kids, but definitely no white kids. Well, definitely not in my time anyway. Okay, so I attended that Indian school for just 3 years. So that's grade 0, grade 1 and grade 2. Although back in my day, we used to call it preschool, class 1 and class 2. But Sam, you're so old. Shut your face. Then in 1997, when I reached grade 3, my parents, I hope you're enjoying the story so far. It's just riveting, I know. In 1997, when I reached grade 3, my parents moved me from that Indian school to what we called a white school. Ah, yes, I remember it like it was just 24 years ago. When I say white school, what I mean is when I got to my first day of grade 3 at that school, I was the only South African Indian kid in that class. I remember there was like one other Indian boy, but he left up after some time. I don't know what happened to him. Honestly, we could be married by now. Gosh. Anyway, he left. And then at a later stage, another Indian boy came, but again, he left, and again, I was the only Indian kid in that class. So basically, from grade 3 to grade 7, my entire primary school career, I was the only South African Indian kid in that class. There was a sprinkling of black people, and literally one colored girl, and the rest were white kids. Obviously, the schools are much more integrated now, but back then, it was still early days, obviously. See, that was the first proper time that I integrated with white kids. And it was so shocking to me that I thought something was wrong with them. I was like, why are they so pale? Why are they sick? What happened to their color? Yeah. If ever you wondered why systems like apartheid are not healthy for society. Yeah. Now, there are some important things to remember here. Number 1, in grade 3, I was 8 years old. Obviously, when you are 8 years old, your accent, your entire being is completely malleable at that stage. You are constantly being influenced by external factors without you even realizing. I was 8 years old. It was predominantly a white school. I told you, it's not rocket science, just linguistics. Now, would you believe that was just part 1 of the story? Now we get to part 2. But this is where things get very deep. As a brown kid, going to school in the 90s, going to a white school during those early transition days, whoo, it was a whole different ballgame. Put yourself in my shoes, right? It's the 90s, apartheid has just fallen. It was still like not really very cool to be a brown person in the 90s. It's not like today where like differences are celebrated and it's cool to be your authentic self and it's cool to be a brown person. Especially in my case, I was the only Indian kid in my class, my whole primary school career, right? So you know what happens. You end up sticking out, but for all the wrong reasons. Also, it was primary school, right? So kids are mean, like that's just kids. You know how you get like nicknames in schools? But everyone had nicknames, but I remember I had multiple nicknames. But I realized that all my nicknames were related to either curry or being Indian. And I remember very well, like when kids approached me, when they talked to me, they would always mimic that Indian accent, but like not in a good way, you know. It was always like in a making fun way. That got tiring very quickly. Even as an 8-year-old, it got very tiring very quickly. And even at 8, I realized that I was sticking out, and not in a good way. And I thought, you know, if I blend in, then they won't notice me, and if they don't notice me, then they can't pick on me. So honestly, maybe even subconsciously I was assimilating? I don't even know. Because you know, I realized at that age that school became like a survive or die game. I know you think I'm being dramatic, but like, trust me, when you're that young and you're sticking out for all the wrong reasons, school is like a game of survival. You must realize that when your accent, your voice, the way you speak, whatever you want to call it, when it's constantly picked on like that, as a young child, you start like believing, like it goes into your brain and you start believing that the way I'm speaking is obviously wrong. If everyone is constantly teasing me about it, I must be speaking in the wrong way. So who knows? Maybe it was because I was in a white school surrounded by white kids, so my accent naturally started changing like that. Or maybe I was subconsciously assimilating, or maybe it was a mixture of both. Who knows? But at the end of the day, it shaped my accent to sound like this. Anyway, guys, life happened. I'm 32 now. After all of these years of life influences and whatnot, this is my accent. I can't go back now. It's too late. I've stuck with this accent. Whatever it sounds like to you, that this is my accent. But you can still hear the South African Indian. It's just that it's got like this white hue to it, if you want to call it that. But anyway, that it's there. I can't, like, no matter what, it's gonna be there for life now. Some of you accusing me of accusing me. I say accusing because it sounds like you're accusing me. Although there's nothing wrong with going to a private school, but it sounds like you're accusing me of going to a private school. I never went to a private school. My parents were poor. We barely had money for public school. You think I went to a private school? I went to some farm school in the bush. Someone sent me this comment yesterday. I told you guys, you think I'm making this up? I get this comment almost every day about my accent. So this came in yesterday. How did you get that Euro accent with a touch of South Indian? The Euro part, if you're not from South Africa, because actually when I went to Korea, even my American friends in Korea, they were always so shocked by my accent and the South African accent. And they're like, whoa, that's a South African accent? It sounds so British. And they don't understand it. But like, if you understand our history, you will understand. So like, if you know the history of South Africa, you will know that we were invaded, is the word I'd like to use. The British on the east side and the Dutch on the west side. And guess who's on the east side? Yeah, me, pick me. So that's why I think our accent sounds very Euro or British or whatever, because on this side, especially on the east side especially of South Africa, that English influence is always gonna be there. A quick history lesson for you. You're welcome. You know, to be very honest with you, although my accent has a somewhat dark upbringing, I'm still very proud of it. It's my voice, you know. It's like my third favorite thing about me, after my eyes and my smile. It also just like fits me so well. If I think about my personality and like my life on the farm and my weirdness, like it just fits me so well, my accent, you know? Yeah. So now you know the story behind my accent. Wasn't it a great story? Bet you regret asking that question now, huh? Yeah, serves you right. That's what you get for being a nosy Nancy. Let me know if you are a brown South African, especially if you're my age and you know you grew up in the same time that I grew up in. Like, let me know if you're my age, if you're also a brown South African and you speak somewhat like me and you were also given hells about it. Let me know. And just remember, no matter what your accent sounds like, it's your bloody voice and it tells a story about you. So just be proud of it, okay? I know, it's a little bit cheesy and a little bit corny, but that's me. One cheese and con samosa. Okay, guys. I hope that answered your question sufficiently. And I hope you enjoyed listening to my unnecessarily long story about why my accent sounds like this, and I hope you learned something about South Africa. And yeah, okay, well, don't forget, if you liked the video, give it a like. If you didn't like the video, give it a like anyway. Don't forget to follow me on all the social media. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to join my channel, and I will see you next time for a new video. Goodbye. Say bye, Harry.